This morning, we're talking about women and money. You're about to meet Rachel, a mother who struggled to find money for everything from groceries to gas.
And for years, she hid it all of her financial hardships from everyone, including her own children.
But one day, she had enough and found the strength to take control and turn her life around. Take a look.
I got married very young. In the process of about 15 years, I had 7 children. I was a stay-at-home mom, and there just was never consistent income. I wanted my kids to have normal. I really, really didn't want them to know the depth of the crisis that I felt inside. Homeschooling was a way to save money. When I could keep them home, I could hide the fact that there really wasn't an adequate amount of resources to go around. There was probably 10 years of my life where my life consisted of putting in $3 of gas, $4 of gas, $2.50 of gas, and I desperately wanted to be able to fill the tank. This is one of my lowest points that I remember. I just wanted to buy frozen corn, and I was scrounging around in my car for change. And I can remember sitting in the car looking at everybody else going in and out, and they probably thought I looked just like the normal person living in suburbia, and yet I couldn't come up with 76 cents. There was a day where I didn't want my kids to live with a mom who had the fear of the IRS coming to her door. I got divorced, and I think there was a level of freedom and discernment that I could make, that this is the bill we're going to take care of right now. This is what we're going to do. It wasn't just me kind of in the corner. It was me deciding all the facets of my life and where I live. I'm going to be in control and in charge of all of them.
And Rachel Marie Martin is here. She's the author of The Brave Art of Motherhood. Rachel, welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Let's dig in here and go back in time for just a moment. You and I, we were just talking about the fact that quite often when moms are on social media and Facebook and what have you, it's their highlight reel, right? It's these beautiful pictures, everybody's smiling, everybody's happy. But the reality is there are a lot of people who are watching who can relate to the fact that they have a secret. And for you, it was your finances, and you didn't want people to know for a while.
I really didn't. I looked like the mom who had it all together. Mm-hmm. I was the mom that showed up first, the last one to leave. I volunteered all the time. And the highlight reel is like a mask. I wore it so tightly, and I was afraid if I dropped it, then people would really see my own circumstances. And I attached so much shame to not having money. So I kept kind of hiding behind all the filters that we have.
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that you weren't empowered to do your own finances. Really, it was your ex-husband who was not doing the finances. And so you didn't even have the power to do that. Talk about why women should take control.
Well, I think we should. We get kind of stuck in roles. This is not my job. And for a long time, I was just kind of in that paradigm, like, I'm going to be the best mom that I can be. But at a certain point, I realized, I need to be a really good mom and take control of the finances, because this is not okay. It wasn't okay to have debt collectors coming to my door. And it really wasn't okay to live with that sense of loss. So there was this moment where I decided, tomorrow's going to look different, and I'm going to take control of my finances.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of people often say that, I'll do it tomorrow, and never really get a grasp on it, because it's overwhelming. Where do you start? And here you are, you got divorced, you did a credit check, and you find out you're $65,000 in debt. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is that next step? What do you do?
Well, I became brave. It really is that, this idea of being brave. And brave sometimes is those moments when you pull a credit check, and it's incremental things, no longer like putting the bills on the counter and thinking, I'm not going to look at them, I'm going to open them up, and calling and getting that credit check. And a really simple thing I did was the student loans. I had student loans that were there, and the Department of Education would call. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to call them. Mm-hmm. So I called them, found out that if I worked with them to pay off this debt, they would negotiate with me. So I paid them $5 a month for 9 months, and they forgave $10,000 of collection fees. Wow. So it's really about putting yourself out there, dropping the mask, saying, I want to get out.
Mm-hmm. It's letting the shame
out. Right, it is. There's no shame with it. Yeah. It's really, there's shame in kind of hiding. It's like there's freedom in deciding, I'm going to put it down.
So what's, for someone watching, what's the best piece of advice? You talked about how you get started, but you also mentioned benchmarks. But what's the best advice you can give someone to climb out of it?
For them too, it's brave. It's this idea of no longer ignoring. The more you ignore, the more it builds up. Every day that I ignored, it was $1 more, let's just say, in debt. Every day that I decided not to ignore, it was $1 less in debt. So for them, it's deciding to not ignore and then celebrating the small points that you do.
We have to ask, what is life like now? How are you?
I love my life now. So there's simple things like when I fill up my tank of gas for my van now, I love it because I live days where I could only put $3 in. And you just like, those are a benchmark.
Yeah.
That's it. Filling my tank of gas, I'm like, this is life different.
So little goals.
It is. And then you use those to remind you of, look how far you've come.
And you're saving.
Yes, I am.
Saving. It's
Yes.
like a weight's off of your shoulders, isn't it?
It is. You
I
know,
can
I tell
see.
moms to breathe.
Yeah.
It's the breath.
We
all
all
breathe.
need to breathe.
Yeah,
All
right there.
Rachel, thank you. We'll be right back.